And I'll say to myself, you have plenty of good things laid up for many years. Take life easy, eat, drink, and be merry. But God said to him, you fool, this very night your life will be demanded from you. Then who will get to what you have prepared for yourself? This is how it will be with anyone who stores up things for himself, but is not rich toward God. The word of God for the people of God. So it's unusual for us to read 3. I almost read 4 today, and I will talk about the 4th one. In the lectionary for the 8th Sunday after Pentecost, there are 6 readings, and 4 of them are very tightly bound in a message. You probably were picking up about possessions and greed and so on in these readings. So my sermon today is going to be, last time I gave a sermon, I was a little hesitant because I wasn't quite sure what was going on. And this one, it's a little better because the 3 readings really do fit together. And so I thought, well, I'm going to kind of weave these together for you today and hopefully get you a little more understanding as we go through this. So one of the first readings, which we did not read, was Ecclesiastes, and it starts like this. Vanity of vanities, says the teacher. Vanity of vanities. All is vanity. I saw all the deeds that are done under the sun, and see, all is vanity and a chasing after the wind. This is one of the Old Testament readings today from the lectionary. Does the author of this saying really mean that all our deeds are worthless? Can that be the message this Sunday? Just lay back, do nothing, because anything you do is vanity. I don't think we get off that easy as Christians. Vanity is defined as excessive pride in one's own achievements. Ecclesiastes is not warning us not to accomplish deeds or good works, but to remember that God is overseeing and assisting in every deed or good work we engage in. We need to recognize God's presence and remember that He is with us every step of our journey in this life. In the First Testament reading that Margaret read, Colossians chapter 3, 1-11, Paul tells us, so if you have been raised with Christ, seek the things that are above, where Christ is, seated at the right hand of God. Set your minds on things that are above, not on things that are on earth. Paul instructs us to put to death, therefore, what in you is earthly, fornication, impurity, passion, evil desire, and greed, which is adultery. The term here, raised with Christ, refers to how we are baptized, how when we are baptized, our old self dies and we are resurrected with an entirely new self. Many evangelical churches used to take aspirants for baptism to the lake or river to be immersed completely and to rise up out of the water as the new self. In the Presbyterian and Methodist sacraments of baptism, the sprinkling or pouring of water on the individual symbolizes similarly the washing away of the old and the raising up of the new. Growing up Catholic, I was baptized as an infant, and the water was poured over my forehead. Back then, we were clothed in a white baptismal gown. Whether you were a boy or girl, you had this white dress on to emphasize the new self. Since I clearly can't remember this event, I thought about other life experiences that might feel somewhat the same. The best example I could come up with was when I was 16. I worked in the summer for a feed company that packaged and distributed feed to farms that raised chickens, pigs, and cattle. It was a dirty job. You spent the mornings filling the feed sacks with grains from large bins and then loading these 50 to 75 pound bags on a flatbed truck to deliver all over the county. One day, my friend Doug and I were out delivering in the 100-degree heat of Texas, and we came across this beautiful spring-fed stream. I'm sure you're getting a little bit of the picture. Yes, we stripped down to our underwear and jumped in. Wow, I really felt cleansed and refreshed as I rose from that water, truly renewed, ready to complete the day's deliveries, similar to our Christian baptism. Paul ends this section of Colossians with what you might call the rest of the story. He says, "Do not lie to one another, seeing that you have stripped off the old self with its practices and have clothed yourselves with the new self, which is being renewed in knowledge according to the image of its creator." In other words, Paul's making it clear it isn't just about stripping off the old. It's not just washing off the old. It's not just immersing and getting rid of it. You also need to adopt the new ways of Christ. As Paul puts it, Christ is all and all in all. Clearly, Paul's message fits together with the reading from Luke, which I just read, the parable which is entitled The Rich Fool. Before we analyze that parable, though, let's try to explain the introduction to the parable, which is a little, confusing, but it's certainly you think, well, what is Christ doing rejecting this young man? Someone in the crowd said to him, "Teacher, tell my brother to divide the family inheritance with me." But Jesus refuses, saying, "Friend, who set me to be judge or arbiter over you?" But then Jesus goes on to say, "Take care, be on your guard against all kinds of greed, for one's life does not consist in the abundance of possessions." Jesus may have indicated that he would not be the judge or arbiter, but he certainly answers the individual's request in an indirect way. I had to search out various commentaries on this section to be able to provide you with a clear explanation. As in all societies, inheritance practices are a common problem. According to Naveen Saras, in first century Palestine, the eldest or firstborn brother receives a double portion of the father's estate. In addition, the eldest brother is responsible for keeping the estate intact or dividing it among his brothers. Therefore, younger brothers initiate when asking for their inheritance. The individual approaching Jesus with the question is clearly a younger brother. We don't know from the text why the younger brother wants a division of the estate. Jesus' statement seems to indicate it's out of greed and tells the listeners that their lives should not just be about abundance of possessions. Another explanation, of course, could be that the younger brother was jealous of the eldest brother's larger inheritance, and he wanted to damage the overall estate by withdrawing his amount. You may remember that there's a similar parable where the prodigal son demands his inheritance prior to the father's death. Clearly a selfish act which diminished the estate. Then Jesus turns to telling the parable of the rich fool to further his message about greed in this story. However, this parable is not without its critics. Some say, why don't we call this the parable of the wise rich man? He's saving for the future, right? He's building his new storage for his growing business. What is wrong with that? Many of you, like me, had parents who grew up during the Depression. They really emphasized saving for the future. I remember that they helped all 6 of us children to open savings accounts while we were in elementary school. And each week, at least there were a couple of times a month, we'd go and put our pennies into our savings accounts at the bank. It was a ritual that we had. They also encouraged us to work as soon as we were able. My brothers and I had paper routes from the age of 9. My dad put away money every month, despite the fact that our family of 8 struggled at times to meet the monthly budget. In his later years, it was discovered that he had significant savings, which enabled my father and mother to live a comfortable retirement. Was he a fool? The explanation for this parable has many layers. First, one could say he's a fool because his only goal is to increase his wealth rather than to share his wealth with others in his family or his community. He seems to be only thinking of himself at this point. Second, the rich man's farm has produced abundantly, yet he doesn't seem to recognize the farm workers who have toiled so hard to accomplish this incredible harvest. He doesn't say that he's going to share this wealth with them or spread some of that grain to the community. Third, the rich man does not recognize or show gratitude to God for his blessing on the man's land. In the words of Ecclesiastes, coming back to my opening part, vanity of vanity, all is vanity. No matter how much wealth you accumulate, you can't take it with you. And that was clear in the Psalm that Margaret read, Psalm 49. It says the exact same thing. Jesus clearly states this also in Matthew chapter 6, 19 to 21, where this is one that we remember more often or see more often in print. Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy and where thieves break in and steal, but store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where moth and rust do not destroy and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will also be. Yes, it is all about establishing our priorities. How best can we utilize our God-given talents and resources to bring about God's kingdom on earth? May we choose wisely. Thank you.